when you activate it, right? And then his passive gives you double crit chance, but your crits do a little less damage, but it's still worthwhile. Like overall your damage is increased, especially if you build Static Shiv, which is really popular on him because he's generating flow, and then he's also generating Shiv stacks, and then he crits with Shiv and like destroys you because it's like a 200% damage crit, or not a 200%, it's a reduced damage crit, but you're critting way more often.
Yeah.
So
the thing about Yasuo is he got a really, really strong early game, like what I said about, and then his late game is also ridiculously strong.
Yeah, because, I mean, he does what Zed did last season, right? Where he just, like, split pushes and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, like, nobody can even come close to standing up against Yasuo late game. Like, I remember one game I was playing a Mumu, and I build a Mumu, like, really tanky. I usually go, like, Sunfire Cape, and, like, Banshee's Veil, and, like, sometimes Thornmail or something. Anyways, I was playing a Mumu, and I was just trying to push a minion wave. Yasuo comes up. I'm like full HP. I'm doing like really well this game, so I'm like really fed and really tanky. He comes up to me, and this isn't even like a fed Yasuo. This is like a 1-4 Yasuo or something late game. He comes up to me and kills me in like 3 seconds, like full tank Mumu, and I'm like, what is that damage?
I mean, you take reduced damage from basic attacks too, because you're a Mumu. So
yeah, and so it was just like I don't know. Yeah, I think they still have to do quite a bit of work on Yasuo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even, I played against Yasuos that are really bad and always miss their win walls, and they still can beat me in lane.
Yeah, I feel like right now Yasuo's in kind of a place, like, do you remember Season 2 Akali? I don't know if have you been playing that long?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, Season 2 Akali was, like, must ban every game because she had so much playmaking potential, and, she had this ridiculous late game state, and of course there were much less champions in the game, so there was a lot less tools to actually outplay an Akali. But I mean, she has all these dashes, so many resources to carry, and like Yasuo feels like that, but he doesn't have a weak lane phase.
Yeah. Yeah, Akali you gotta punish before she hits 6 to like shut her down. Yasuo, you can't do that.
Yeah, so as far as the actual changes, which we haven't even discussed yet, what they did was they increased the amount that you have to move to generate flow. So that means it takes longer for you to get your shield up, and then also, doesn't one of his abilities cost flow? Yeah, his Steel Tempest costs flow rather than mana, I think. Or is it all of his abilities that cost flow? I don't know how he works.
I don't think they cost flow.
They don't?
Sweeping Blade actually generates flow.
Okay. Oh, right. So his abilities generate flow, and they're like free, right? And then
yeah. He's just
so
like
okay. Steel Tempest and Wind Wall generate flow, I believe. Or no, wait. Okay.
I think it's just Sweeping Blade.
Okay, so Sweeping Blade generates flow, but I think you have to rank up Wind Wall before it starts doing that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Like, I don't know, like, to be honest, I've never played this, so I don't know, like, the intricacies of his kit, but I just know that he's OP.
Yeah, I should definitely play him so I know these things.
Yeah, even after the changes. But the thing was, I remember when Yasuo first came out, everybody's like, oh, Yasuo, like, he's such garbage, like, don't play him. And I remember I won, like, the first 4 games I played against Yasuo. The thing with Yasuo is he's got a relatively high skill cap, so I don't think people playing in, like, low-level, like, Bronze Silver are probably too afraid of him.
No, I'm not.
When you get up to, like, Platinum, Diamond, Challenger level, Yasuo is, like, the scariest thing you can ever lane against, like, just because he does take quite a bit of skill to play, but he's got a lot of rewarding, he's got a lot of rewarding aspects of his gameplay once you get good with him. So.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what they did is they reduced the cast range on his ultimate by 100. It's not really that significant of a change. And then basically everything else was just reducing the rate at which he generates flow, so it's aimed at kind of hurting his early game. And I mean, you still think he'll be really strong, right?
Yeah, I think Yasuo right now, at least, is really strong.
Yeah,
especially in solo queue.
Yeah, he's kind of in the position where Thresh is, where they're going to slowly chip away at him, and then hopefully, eventually, they'll figure out how to balance him.
Yeah, hopefully.
Wind Wall is Oh, right. Yeah, Azelos actually makes a really good point here. Which is Wind Wall blocks skill shots that you make over walls. So, like, if you're playing against Gragas or something like that, like who's a really good Dragon Stealer or Baron Stealer, or Lee Sin or anything like that, unless they, like, actually physically go over the wall and smite, there's no getting that stolen. Like, it's impossible to steal against Yasuo because his Wind Wall just blocks it.
And Wind Wall blocks like virtually like everything. Like you can even block Shyvana's ult with Yasuo's
Oh yeah,
wall.
I remember we were talking about this on your
ridiculous.
stream. We were making a joke like Shyvana's programmed as minions, and
Literally just throw your Wind Wall up and Shyvana ults.
like Shyvana's a
and
projectile.
It just stops her entire ult. It's like, what? Are you...
Like I mean she's still in her ultimate, but she stops moving, right?
Yeah, it just like stops her.
It's it's funny. I've never actually seen that happen, but I imagine it would be hilarious.
I like the first time I saw it, I was just like, what? Are you joking me?
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, so Yasuo pretty OP.
Yeah, so I mean the Xerath and the Skarner champion reworks are not really that relevant to competitive play, but do you have any thoughts on them? Have you seen them much at all?
I think I saw Skarner like once in a game, and he was awful.
Yeah. So okay, what I remember from the
Laughable.
Skarner changes was they removed the slow on his Q and they moved it to his E, and then I believe they removed the heal on his E. So like from what I've heard from Skarner players, is they're complaining that, you know, if he misses his E, he's just garbage. He doesn't do anything. And then of course his sustain in the jungle is a lot weaker without that heal. Oh yeah, and they did actually improve his ult, I believe, a little bit. So it roots the target during the animation. So like if you're Ezreal, you can't arcane shift away once the animation starts. Because you used to be able to do that, and then like since it broke the leash, like Skarner's cooldown would go up and you would just get away. So yeah, and then Xerath. What are your thoughts on Xerath? Unless you had
Xerath
any more
feels pretty
thoughts
fun.
on Skarner.
I like the ideas, like all of his moves now in his kit like look really fun and look like you can make really good plays and stuff with them. But I think he's lacking just a little bit in damage, and I think his ultimate could use a little bit of work too, because his ultimate right now seems really, really kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah, well, it's like practically global range, but
But the hitbox on it is so tiny that it's really hard to hit anybody.
yeah, because it's a relatively slow, like traveling through the air, so. And it's a pretty small hitbox, so even though it is really ridiculously long range, it's not actually that useful.
Yeah, unless if you're playing against like bots that just like run backwards, you're gonna miss at least one or two of them.
Yeah, like I've seen on Dominion, he's actually really funny. He can stand in base and fire his ult to stop caps on both the midpoint and the bottom point.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, like he's not that. Wow, they actually nerfed his attack range too. I didn't even realize that. Like. That's pretty bad. So yeah, probably Xerath and Skarner hurt by the changes more than they're helped. And that's a little bit of a shame. I feel like they're trying to work in a new direction with them, and there's probably more changes to come. So yeah. And then I guess do you want to talk about some of the smaller champion changes? Is there anything that you really feel like is worth going over?
There's the Eve. Well, like they did a bunch of changes to Eve actually. I wouldn't mind talking about, because I've been playing a lot of Eve lately, just to kind of see how she feels.
Oh,
so mind if I talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, because okay, first of all, in the previous patch, what they did was they made her Ravage, right, do physical damage.
Yeah.
But then they reduced the missile speed on her Q, and I think that was the majority of the changes. They may have adjusted some damage or something, but so basically, like what we're seeing now on Evelynn, like people are still picking her because she's so strong, just because her stealth is like really hard to counter, but people are building like Blade of the Iron King and physical damage stuff on her, which I was surprised to see. Like, I remember when her Q, or when Spirit of the Elder Lizard used to be different, and people would spam Q and stack up Spirit of the Elder Lizard, and that was really strong. But then they changed Spirit of the Elder Lizard to kind of balance some of those edge cases. But now, like, you know, they did this, and I was surprised people are building Spirit of the Elder Lizard on her, even though it's only on her E. So, since you've been playing her, and go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, she actually feels okay. So at the beginning of season 4, Evelynn got this huge like power spike in her kit because all the vision wards are now visible like to everybody, and so you always know when you can be seen. You always know when you can't be seen. And you can just kill the wards whenever like you walk by them. Before in season 3, you know, people like throw a pink ward down in their lane or like next to their lane, and there's nothing you could do about it. Now you just walk up, kill the ward, and like go away, come back a minute later. And so that made her like really, really strong because you could never see a gank coming. It gave her a lot better universal map presence because you never knew where she was, and you never knew like when she's gonna pop out of nowhere and kill you.
Yeah.
So
I've seen a lot of counterplay against Eve. Like, people ward her jungle camps so they can see her while she's doing them, because that's when she's out of stealth.
Yeah, that works like all right, because you still gotta get into the jungle camp, which can be really risky, and also like a good Eve player will either take note of that and just stealth somewhere else.
I mean,
there are ways to go around it.
It's still really not useful for protecting the lanes. It's just good, like, so that while she's not ganking, you know where she is, but while she's missing, it's still not helpful at all.
Yeah.
You have to buy pink wards to deal with it.
Yeah.
So.
And when I play Eve, I don't find myself farming a whole lot. Like, it won't be uncommon for me to hit level 3 and then run all the way across the map to gank a lane. You know, you can kind of do that as Eve, just because your ganks are just that strong early game. So. But yeah, Eve, so then she got a little bit of a nerf with like her hate spikes and things, but after everything's like said and done, she still seems really, really strong. I always build AD on her though. I never build ability power, it just doesn't do the same amount of damage it used to. But oddly enough, her kit actually synchronizes really well with like Blade of the Ruined King for one.
Because it slows them down and it makes it a lot easier to land your hate spikes now that like the projectile speed is a little bit lower.
Yeah, and then plus it synchronizes well with your W, which speeds you up. So you
and
slow them
it
down,
makes it easier to catch up for your Ravage, which now does physical damage.
Yeah,
it's
so
like
it just makes sticking to people like a lot easier. And then on top of that, people have been building Randuins, which also like kind of a similar thing, you know, slows people down. You can stick to them a lot easier. And there's Trinity Force, which...
You actually build Triforce on her?
Yeah, I built Trinity Force on her. It actually feels really, really good.
I guess the main reason that we don't see that at the competitive level is because you don't see junglers get that big, but probably in solo queue it's a different story.
Yeah, when you get fed... as Evelynn, you can afford to get a Trinity Force and you just wreck. Like, Eve still scales really, like, pretty well off of AP as well as AD, and so Trinity Force like is really good in that regard. And then plus you get the movement speed increase every time you auto attack someone, which also helps you stick to them. And so like when you combine everything all together, you know, you can stick to anybody you want for like as long as you want.
Yeah. So I mean, like, actually, as far as team fighting, how do you think how does Evelynn work for you? Like, because I mean, traditionally, you know, Evelynn will come from behind and kind of start a team fight that way, or pick someone off who's kind of out of position. Does it still kind of work that way, or is she really more reliant on being just like a single target assassin now?
Yeah, like Eve's always had a pretty weak team fight. Like even in season 3, she's never known for like her great team fighting or anything. So that's always been kind of her weak point, and it still is. The thing is, you just got to get that early advantage with like your OP ganks, and then hopefully you'll just be able to like carry that advantage.
Yeah, the thing that kind of sucks about playing Eve, and then we'll move on to the next thing real quick. I'll probably just talk about some of the changes that I wanted to discuss, and then actually there was a question in chat that we'll go over after that. So the thing about Eve that is really annoying, like in competitive play, I actually have been seeing this a lot lately because pros have been picking her up again ever since Diamond Prox kind of innovated the AD Eve thing. But You can't really push lanes against Eve. Like, basically, when you're playing against Eve, you can push one lane and then have your jungler sit near that lane to camp it and counter gank. But if you push out all